What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh my gosh. I hope you guys are ready to receive the best hour you have ever seen in your entire life. Why? Because we got it all, baby. We got hope, we got positivity, we got excitement, we got encouragement, we got inspiration, motivation, empowerment, the whole nine, man. So I hope you guys are excited about this. Pull up a chair, pull up a couple shots, let your hair down, kick your shoes off, and get ready to receive the most power-packed hour you have ever seen in your entire life. I'm excited, baby. Let's go.
Joseph Jaffe. Why does that name sound so suspiciously familiar? Maybe because your secret screen name is Not Famous for You. What do you mean by not famous for you, Joseph? Chris Hansen here of Hansen versus Predators. To catch a predator and have a seat with Chris Hansen. Now, Joseph Jaffe, I'm going to need you to have a seat right over there. I see some suspicious activity. Something about a television show, doing interviews, 200 guests, something like that. But Joseph, you are not famous. And the people on your show, well, they're not infamous like my shows. But remember, Jaffe is not famous. So let's keep it that way. I'll be watching and listening. Behave.
This is my best kind of show notes. We didn't touch one of them, not even one of them. I'm not sure which one is Paul Rudd and which one is Lane Green.
Final card here is the ultimate outcome.
Today is take your dog to work day.
Like Scooby-Doo.
Without further ado, his debut.
Sweet Caroline.
Everybody say hello to Sammy. Is it not good?
I'm just pausing so that you just are at the front of your seat.
I'm so enormously flattered.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
I'm gonna have to take a picture of this.
No, this is agape. This is love.
I really enjoyed this. You did do your homework. You asked great questions.
I'm flattered. Thank you. You just made my day.
Look at you. You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane.
did I do that?
You're insane.
Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's November 3rd. I always have to check the calendar, the time, just to make sure, because, you know, I come from the future. I come from 6 hours in the future, back from South Africa, ridiculously jet lagged, but excited, inspired by you guys, by the community, by David Libby, who's here. He says, welcome back, Joseph. Tom Morris says, glad you're back, Joseph. And Glenn is here, and he said, we're both back. Glad to see you here. Well, I'm glad that you guys are watching. Of course, you are the regulars. You are receivers of whatever I can send out into the universe, including, well, you know, today is give someone $1 a day. So let me do that. Let me give you $1. Let me give everybody watching $1. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking, of course, about the Jaffe coin. That QR code is live right now, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Daily Time, Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Time. And just by shining your little smartphone on that QR code, you will get today a 1/10 of a Jaffe coin, which is at $11. So you will get $1. Normally I give you more, but this time I'm downgrading in order to give you $1 because it is give someone $1 a day. Does that make sense? I certainly hope so. Today is a great day because the very famous Shaahin Cheyene is here. This man is ridiculously fascinating. He may be one of the most fascinating people ever that has come on the show, in my humble opinion. And we're going to hear about his story, and there's a story behind the story, and probably a story behind the story of the story. And then tomorrow, you saw him in the introduction. Bruce Turkel makes his return to the show. And in fact, the name of the show, Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous, that name comes from Bruce. He actually came up with the name. Maybe we will talk about it next week. But tomorrow, today we're going to focus on Shaahin Cheyene. He is an author, a speaker, a leading Amazon expert, and an export. I'm sure he's exporting and importing as well. That was Freudian, but not really. And you're going to find out about what is in his mouth. And as I said, the man is fascinating. What can I say? But before we do that, let's talk NFTs, shall we? There's just crypto all around. Jaffe coins. There's beautiful NFTs on the left. You see a color NFT. That color NFT, of course, is for sale, and it gives you access to pre-recordings, to audition shows, to reunion shows, even backstage passes. But the one on the right, the golden one, the sepia-toned golden one, well, that's a VIP NFT. That goes out to my regulars. It goes out to you, David and Tom and Glenn. If you haven't received them, you will be. And of course, Shaheen, who's in the green room right now, you'll be getting one of these NFTs as well. My way to thank you for being a part of the show. I love this era of experimentation, this beautiful, beautiful moment in our lives where we get to innovate, we get to test, we get to experiment, we get to fail, and ultimately we get to invent the future, not be dictated to about the future, but actually be partners, be co-conspirators in what that future looks like. Well, today is not just Give Someone $1 Day, it's also National Cliche Day. And so I thought it would be quite appropriate, speaking of cliches, to dedicate our soliloquy to cliches. And that's why this seated soliloquy, it's like a tongue twister. It always has been. You'd think after 300 episodes, I would get better at it. But I am jet lagged. Today is called Think Outside the Box. Well, today is National Cliche Day, and I couldn't resist the urge to give you 110% to think outside the box, close the loop by discussing the elephant in the room, and get your head around a mission-critical paradigm shift to get on the same page and achieve that win-win. Who's with me? On one level, business cliches might as well be squares on a board of bullshit bingo. We have so much jargon, lingo, and esoteric business vernacular that sounds more often than not like Martian. Add corporate acronyms to the buzzwords, and you are wading through one massive pile of SH1T. I don't mind the cliches as much. What I take umbrage with and offense to is the remarkable amount of lip service given to the talk, as opposed to walking the talk. Wait. Did I just do it again? Personally, I think we can use our intellect to play with and even redefine some of these ideas, like thinking outside the box. For starters, why does it have to be a box? Why not another shape? Or what about thinking inside the box? As I often say, I don't mind the frame or the framework, no matter how restrictive it might be, as long as I have permission to act liberally within the confines. Or maybe we can go with thinking outside the box, but acting inside the box as an operating ethos which emphasizes external thinking to inspire, empower, and provoke execution inside a corporation. I could go on. It's less the cliche that bugs me as much as the fake sense of consensus and euphemism that everyone seems to buy into. Everyone playing by the same set of flawed rules. Like the idea of let's take that offline, which basically means whatever we need to discuss can't be discussed in front of you because you can't trust us or we can't trust you or both. Or my personal worst, test and learn, which reads like shake and bake, in which the test is nothing more than checking the box that reads one and done. And the learn, well, that's completely empty, isn't it? And speaking of boxes, I just thought of one more hack to the cliche. How about acting outside the box? Meaning, free yourself from the shackles of navel gazing, incestuous inward and insular toxicity, and get SH1T done. Sound good? Fantastic. Have your people contact my people, and we'll do lunch. Now it's time to do a virtual lunch, if you will, or maybe an in-person lunch with my guest of honor, my VIP, Shaahin Cheyene. and a little bit about him. And I'm just not sure that anything can do justice to his very colorful background. Shaahin Cheyene built $1 billion business by the time he was 18 by creating a thrill pill cult. He's an award-winning business mogul, author, filmmaker, and inventor of herbal ecstasy, the nootropic that sparked the 100% legal smart drug movement. He's been called the Willy Wonka of Generation X. Now he's the world's leading Amazon industry expert. Let's welcome him on to the show. Shaheen, welcome.
So good to be on, Joseph. And let me tell you, I've at this stage done about 150 of these podcasts and interviews. And I was recently on Adam Carolla's show. And one thing I like about him that I like about you as well. And I'll start it by asking you a question. Joseph Jaffe, not famous. Do you know why angels fly?
Do I know why angels fly? I don't.
Because they take themselves lightly.
You know what that deserves, my friend? It deserves that. It deserves that. And what it doesn't deserve is that.
Yeah, you got the Roadcaster. I love it.
What do you mean? These are just these. No, of course I've got the Roadcaster.
And I will accredit that to my hero and mentor in life, although I've never met him, Alan Watts, who said that. But it kind of leads us to what I think is the biggest downfall, not only of most entrepreneurs, but of most people in general in just being human. And that's that they're just too fucking serious. They take themselves so seriously, which leads me to a really funny story if you want me to tell it. But, you know, I started this company when I was a teen, grew it to over $1 billion in revenue while I was still a teen, pre-internet, $1 billion with a B, was one of the largest supplement manufacturers at that time. I invented a drug and it became a huge thing, a supplement, really. And I remembered that one day I had a Asian client that really, really was pushing to get a territory. You know, we had broken down the company into various territories, and I knew nothing about business. And he had sent gifts and written all these very serious letters, and all these serious people had come to my office, and I'd just been ignoring him. And after a while, I wrote back to him. Forgive that sound. I'm going to close that out. But I wrote back to him. We had faxes at that time. Remember, it was pre-internet. So I wrote back to him on a piece of construction paper with crayons, and I faxed him a picture that said something silly like, "Little green monster says yes." And I remember the confusion that ensued. It went from one department to another department to the secretary and they're all looking at this scribble that was basically just me fucking with them. And at the end of the day, the guy calls me, the man, the head honcho, the head of this mega corporation. And he goes, "You know what? I like you. I get it." And that was it. We were on, because I knew that he shared that same sense of humor. And at that moment in my life, I couldn't fucking take any more serious people. So it was epic. So with that said, I appreciate you, Joseph Jaffe.
Well, thank you. And you know what I should have actually played for you is my favorite introduction, which I think I played last night, but this is my best one. So I'm going to show it to you because I think he got it. He gets the brief. He gets me. He would get you. You would get him. This is Tom Arnold.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Me, Tom Arnold, I am very famous. I absolutely because it's very true. Like, I hadn't freaking heard of you until I sitting on a Friday night. This is how bad my life is. Listen, fucker, good luck. Good luck with your rebranding. Like anybody knew what the name was before. What was the name? Okay, who gives a shit? That's a good name because it's got your name in it. You can pretend you're humble. You say, "I'm not famous." And, which you aren't. So you're just, I mean, anyway, but I hope you get famous doing this. Good luck to you.
He
You
got
love
it,
you-
right?
You love you some Cameo. I saw a few others on there. You had
You know what? You are destroying. You have. I am the old, short, bald, white guy behind the curtain. I am the Wizard of Oz, and you have exposed me. I am naked and afraid, and in an embryo position right now, all because of you.
No,
thank
to your credit, you're using all the tools that we teach our students to use. You have to, in life, become a hacker. My podcast is called Hack and Grow Rich. We're close to about, I think, something like 100,000 subscribers across our different channels now. And what we teach is that nobody wins by playing the game the way they tell you to play it. Big resellers, e-commerce giants like Amazon. I teach this course called Amazon Mastery, where I teach people how to make predictable recurring revenue on the Amazon platform. I teach people how to find products, sell them on the Amazon platform. And what they want you to believe is fucking bullshit. They want you to believe that if you are a good little boy, Joseph Jaffe, and you follow their rules, that you are going to be just fine. But the fact is, there's 10 million sellers on there and growing. There are multiple people competing for that same little piece of cheese. And if you don't get creative the way you have, using cameos, using the fame and authority of people, using all these tools that are very efficient and effective, you're using an inexpensive tool to build authority and affect change. If you don't know how to do those things, and you, to your credit, have done that instinctually, we teach that in our course, and we teach people how to use platforms like Craigslist and Cameo, how you can get famous people to be authority figures and figures of influence for your product. You did it intuitively, which is awesome. You'd probably be great at Amazon. I know you're getting into the e-commerce space, but the fact is, you have to use every tool in your arsenal, and you have to find out what tools the competition isn't using, and you have to jump on it like a fucking, I don't know, but you got to jump on it like it was a gazelle and you're a lion in the savannah. Joseph Jaffe.
I was just thinking that you said this beautiful contradiction, which you then reconciled quite also, no doubt, instinctually. And you said, and I'm gonna reframe what you said. Basically, you have to understand the rules to break them. You have to understand the rules, maybe not to break them, but to figure out how to get by them or bend them. And I'll give you an example. It's just funny. It struck me. The show changed. I won't mention the name of the show before, because why? I found that the show was getting shadow banned and I wasn't able to promote the show. And I couldn't understand it. And so instead of trying to, the river never beats down the rock, but goes around the rock and slowly over time breaks that rock down into sand. And so you got to understand the rules. It's almost like if I was giving someone advice right now, I would say, I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to read all the rules, read every single one, every nuance, and then figure out how to break them. That's what I heard from you.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. And not only that, you've got to have swiftness. You have to have efficiency. You have to be able to be okay with confrontation. You have to be okay having thick skin. You have to be okay, in your case, having trolls. There's people that are going to hate you. There's people that are not going to like you. Fuck them. It doesn't matter. You have to be on rails moving towards the destination. And the best way to do that, as you've very well discovered, my friend, is by not taking shit seriously.
Yeah, by the way, everybody loves me except the people that hate me. So, I mean, now, I mean, talking about not taking things seriously, one of the things that I started also, just sometimes something works, you do something differently, and when you have fun with it, you keep doing it. And I call it fun facts. And I figured, let me have some fun with you. So, So the first thing I had is I'm not really sure who the real Bobby Axelrod is.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the guy on the left, the good-looking guy on the left, is a little bit more successful than the actor on the right.
I don't
but
know.
you know,
Daniel Lewis is unbelievable. He is a fucking hero. And by the way, this guy, he speaks with like, okay, in the show, he speaks with a perfect Bostonian accent.
Yeah.
You think he's fucking American.
he's English.
And watch his interviews. He's fucking English. And I don't mean a little English. That guy is like Queen's English.
No, it's amazing, and of course he was in Homeland, and he's done a great job with that. We're going to talk about your wonderful book, Billion, and we're also going to take a step back and talk about, this is what I thought of with you the movie. The movie Limitless. Not, everybody knows about Bradley Cooper, but they don't know about the man behind the man. But I thought maybe let's take a small.
Did you know that Bradley Cooper was in my house in Venice before the film at a party, and we were hanging out talking about all kinds of fun things before he did that movie. Funny enough, right?
Did you know that I once went to see The Elephant Man on Broadway, and Bradley Cooper came out and took a selfie with me?
No way, really?
I mean, that's the not famous equivalent of you're famous, you see?
Now you're fucking with me.
No, it's really true.
Is it really?
It really is true. We waited until afterwards he came out, and just he took a nice blurred selfie with my camera.
I love that.
And then he sent me a bill. And then he sent me a bill. No, I'm kidding. So I want to take a step back, and I want to hear about your origin story. Take me back to when you were bitten by the radioactive spider. Or the equivalent. It's actually an amazing story. I mean, your family fleeing, and I was listening to the interview with Adam Carolla, and I was like, potato, potato, tomato, tomato. I will pronounce it the way you pronounce it. In South Africa, I guess we would have said Iran, and here they would say Iran, and I think you guys did run. So I ran, you ran, we all ran for Iran. How do you pronounce the country?
Iran.
That's what I would have said. Tell us about the story, because it's amazing. You leave home at a young age, but this is after having to come to a new country, establish yourself, have your family establish themselves. I want to understand what made you tick, what motivated you then and now, because it's an incredible story.
Yeah, we moved from Iran back in the late 1970s to the United States via Germany, of course. And we landed here in Iran. We were solid middle class, came to the United States. We were poor. My dad was working at a pizza shop, at dry cleaners, whatever he had to do to make ends meet. My mom was a house mom. She just took care of us, a wife and mother. And it turns out that they got lucky and managed to buy a house in a neighborhood that was very up and coming. And all around us grew all this wealth. And for myself, I thought, man, I want that. We lived in the shittiest house on the block, but there were all these big houses and fancy cars. And I was like, I want the Porsche and the beautiful girl sitting next to me and all those fancy things and the Rolex watch and all those things. And when I went to my folks and I said, hey, how do you get that? They pointed to traditional education. They said, become a doctor, go to a school. That is what everyone does. Look at Mr. Tehrani next door. Mr. Tehrani is a doctor. He is rich. He is good. And I said, what? All right, let me be like that guy. And I looked at the guy, and the dude was fat and he was bald, and the wife was fat and bald, and the kids were fat and bald. And, yeah, he had this big house, but the bank owned it. And he had this nice Mercedes, but the bank owned it. And he didn't own his hours. And I was like, fuck me. If that's my future, I'm going to go just chill on the beach because I'm out. And I packed all my stuff and I left. I left home. And I went out to seek my fame and fortune. I had no money. I had no friends. And I found myself sleeping in these buildings that they had built but were relatively abandoned until they finished construction. So I figured out how to get the codes, the lockbox codes, and I would go inside, sleep at night, wake up in the morning before the brokers or anybody came, and I would leave. I managed to eat by hanging out at the community college. They had some free food there. And I managed to get myself a mentor. The mentor guided me to the dance scene, the rave scene, the electronic music scene that was going crazy in those days, the rave scene of the 1990s. And what happened was that I started noticing in the clubs that there was a very specific group of people who were making money. And everybody else, Joseph Jaffe, were broke. It was the drug dealers. So I thought to myself, dude, let me be a drug dealer. That's great. That's perfect. Fast money. I'll get the car. I'll get the girls. I'll get all the fancy things. This is great. And then I looked back to my adolescence coming here and my life of crime as an adolescent, realizing how fucking bad I was at crime. We had a little gang when I realized I didn't belong in school. And what I did was we had a little Greek kid. He was a midget or a little person, whatever the politically correct word is. He would slide under the metal detectors. We would go into the liquor store. We were a bunch of complete misfits. I mean, none of us belonged anywhere. There was something wrong with all of us. And we would create a distraction. He would steal the nudie magazines, the little bottles of alcohol, cigarettes, glue, whatever he could fit in his oversized clothes, slide under the metal detectors. And we had a flourishing business going in school. The only problem was we would always fucking get caught. Every time we would get caught, we would end up in detention where we would find more customers, sell more stuff, and get caught again. I think we were the most caught people ever. So at this point, I'm going, okay, well, a life of crime may not be for me because I am bad at crime. And then it hit me. What if I could invent a drug that was legal, that was natural, that could do what the biggest party drug of that time could do, ecstasy, without getting me in jail? So I embarked on that journey. I managed to get myself a girlfriend, complete hot mess. And her father was the superintendent of some school district somewhere. I managed to convince her to allow me to enter in through the back door while dude left through the front door to go to work. And I would cook up prototypes in her kitchen every day until one day we got a formula and it worked better than expected. And that night I found myself in the club, little teenage kid with a baggies filled with these goo-filled balls because I didn't have the money to buy the machine to put it into actual capsules. So we rolled little balls of these herbs, and I had these baggies, and we had a little card inside with a butterfly in it. And I walked up to the biggest, scariest motherfucking drug dealer I could find. Dude had tattoos on his face, the little tear things, meaning he probably killed somebody in jail or was killed by, I don't know. There was something bad had happened to this guy. And I remember walking up to the guy and being like, hey, man. And he was like, I don't have any drugs. Get the fuck out of here. I'm out. And I said, oh, wait. I began to realize the supply of ecstasy had dried up during that time. And none of these drug dealers had any product to sell. And I said, no, I'm not interested in drugs. He said, fuck you. Are you a cop? What are you doing? Are you a cop? I said, nope, definitely not a cop. Not a cop. Do I look like a cop? I'm not even old enough to be a cop. He said, then why are you fucking with me? I'm going to kill you. I was like, nope, you definitely don't want to kill me. I want you to sell this. And now here's a man who's selling real drugs and a teenage kid that just ended up cooking some goo-filled capsule-looking things, holding up a baggie to this man that probably kills people for a living. He had bodyguards around him. He had like these females around him that were probably questionable as well, staring me down. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, man, that's it. I'm going to die. My life is over. This has been a good life and time to move on. And in that moment, two people walk up to him and the conversation ensues and they're asking him for stuff. He doesn't have it. They're giving him money. He's handing it back. Finally, he takes the money. He motions for me to come forward. He takes the bag, one of the baggies. He looks at me and he goes, you better not be fucking with me. He grabs the entire backpack. He says, don't go anywhere. I'll see you in 2 hours. It was the longest 2 hours of my life. I waited and waited and looked around the club, and I thought people were having a good time. This guy's face only had one particular look. He did not own any other looks, this man. I think he didn't smile, didn't frown. He was just Ugh. And after 2 hours had passed, I walked up. It looked like people were having a good time. The people who purchased the pills from him looked to be happy. And I'm standing there thinking to myself, dude, I got to find a way to get this guy not to kill me. It would be a win for the evening if I did not die. Tonight would be a good night to not die. And as I'm staring at this man, I'm thinking of all the excuses, all the things I'm going to say to him to not kill me. I'll work for him. I'll shine his car. I'll shine his boots, whatever he wants. And then he looks at me. I'm sweating bullets. And he says, kid, when can you get me more? And that was it. It went from one guy to 10,000 guys. A lot of these dealers became legitimized, and we got our product all over the world in 30,000 plus retail outlets. We were selling in Urban Outfitters, 7-Eleven, GNC. We were selling in all the big supermarkets, music festivals. We were at Lollapalooza. We were in sex shops, adult shops, new age bookstores. Anywhere you went was our product. Until one day, I had an exotic car collection, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches. I had the brand new NSX that came out, one of my favorite cars. I was flying on private planes all over the place. I had boats, yachts, all that stuff. And I remember falling asleep, drooling on the passenger seat of my Lamborghini. Not a good look. Don't drool on those cars. They don't like it. And waking up, walking into my office, more like stumbling. And my secretary at the time was pale-faced. The news had come in that we had broke $1 billion in revenue before Facebook, before the internet, before mobile phone madness of smartphone, iPhone, Apple phones, before Silicon Valley. We had broken $1 billion. Teenage kid, dropped out of school, no friends or family anywhere to be seen, but we broke $1 billion. Sam Donaldson, the great interviewer from Nightline, was outside waiting to interview me. Newsweek was there to interview us, Los Angeles Times, New York Times, London Observer. We were everywhere. And I remember thinking to myself, Joseph, holy fucking shit. I don't know how much $1 billion is. If they ask me how much $1 billion is, I'm fucked, because I have no, is it 1,000 million, 100 million? I'm fucked. And I remembered in that moment thinking to myself, fuck, does this mean I'm going to have to get an accountant? I think I'm going to have to get an accountant. And these were the level of sophistication that I had in those days. But it was a wild ride. And I write about it in my book, Billion, How I Became King of the Throw Pill Cult, which is available on Amazon.
Wait, hold on a second.
Too.
No, wait a second. Hang on a second. You wrote a book. I think we're going to have to make you the sponsor of the show. I've got that logo up. I think maybe let's change the background and let's do some more stuff. How about that? All that. But we are celebrating the book, and we're celebrating you. I mean, that was an amazing story. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can give you. You deserve the air horn too. I got nothing. Other than that, it's basically farting sounds and doors creaking. I want to take a step back, and I got lots of questions. First of all, Glenn says, Iran. I lived with a woman from Iran for 10 years, and she hated hearing people say Iran. She also, by the way, left in 1978. My mother is here, and I just want her to say that I just want her to know that if I'm going to do all the swearing, here's one for you, my friend. If I wanted to say, then I've got my own self-bleeping mechanism. Manif is here. He said, hello, I made it. And, he said one of the most amazing things. He said, I watched Uncut Gems during 2020 New Year's Eve with Jaffe. He was with New Year's Stream and Eve with me, 2021. And I will rewatch this show for 2022. And he adds, very sophisticated, getting the book. So you've made at least one sale. Now I want to go back and I want to pick up on 3 things in this story. First of
Yeah.
all, I want to thank you for that story, because it's one of the first times in a while where I got back to what I would say was my purest in this evolution, which is where I just basically, and with apologies to my mom watching, I shut the fuck up and I listened and I learned and I loved. I listened, I learned, and I loved what I heard. Let's start in no particular order with the idea of luck. The luck that your parents had when they purchased the house, but more importantly, the luck that how could you have imagined that you would walk into this rave at a time when there was a scarcity of ecstasy to be sold? It, I mean, it's incredible. It's unbelievable. How do you respond to people who say, "But Shane, that's great, and you got lucky. How am I going to ever replicate that kind of luck?"
Life is about luck, but it's not what you think. Luck can be created, and it's about being in the flow. A great author, Csikszentmihalyi, who recently passed away, actually, just a few days ago, wrote the great book Flow. And he talks about the amazing synchronicities that could potentially happen when you're in the flow. My whole life, I've been lucky, but I really believe that I have created my own luck. I don't believe that in life anybody ever handed me anything. I don't believe that I went to sleep and woke up and all the cards were in my favor, or I just woke up on the right side of the bed and that's where the golden goose that lays the golden eggs, or is it regular goose that lays the golden eggs? Is whatever. There was no goose laying golden eggs for me.
There's no goose, there were no eggs.
There was no goose, there was no eggs. You want luck? Fucking go out there and work, hustle. Go out there and bust your ass. Don't sleep. Work harder than the last guy. Work harder than all those guys. And then do what we were talking about before. Find a way. There's always a way. I teach people all the time how to become successful on Amazon. Now, Amazon being this new disruptor just in the last 15, 20 years in the retail space and in the e-commerce space, I see people going from zero to hero every day on Amazon. And yeah, you can say, well, you got lucky. I'm not going to find my magic pill. Fucking bullshit. There's so many people finding their own magic pill every day. If you think that, give me a call. Join my course. Sign up. In fact, for anybody who's listening to this podcast, if you reach out to me by email, and I answer all emails, I've never not responded to an email. It is darkzess@gmail.com, DARKZESS @gmail.com. Put "not famous" in the subject heading. I will give you my $200 1-hour course for free. I will give you the course for free, no obligation, no credit card, just so you can see how easy it actually is to start an online business. And yeah, maybe you're not going to become a millionaire or a billionaire like me and my friends, but you know what? You'll be one step ahead of all the other fuckers who didn't do it.
Love it. That's amazing. And so, you know what, would you mind just excusing me while I send an email to dogzess@gmail.com with the words "not famous" in the subject line? That is very generous of you, and amazing, you know. And it's I want to skip to something else in your story. There are two things that are almost incongruous. You left home at 15. You talk about it so nonchalant, you know, so kind of nonchalantly, but who leaves home? Who is allowed to leave home at 15? Who is so motivated by or repelled, you know, from the fat, bald doctor whose house is owned by the bank and leaves home? And then there's another part as well, which is, you know, I mean, forget about Breaking Bad. You just went and concocted a legal herbal. How did you go into a kitchen and figure out how to create a recipe, a cocktail? These two things are just, one day you will be dissected, my friend. your brain will be dissected and they'll try and understand what makes you tick. How did you handle these two things? How did these two things happen?
So that's one of the most common questions that people ask me. And the truth is that I had no idea what I was doing. The fact of the matter is that when the decision is made, the doing becomes effortless. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that once you become resigned to achieving the result that you want to achieve, and you decide that you are willing, might not have to do it, but that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it, very little can stop you. Sure, if you die, get hit by a truck or something, maybe. Outside of that, I wasn't willing to take no for an answer. And there was zero indication, if you saw it in my face, that I wasn't willing, able, or interested in doing the impossible. Sure, it's a seemingly impossible task. I wanted to disrupt a couple major industries, do it as a teenager without any money or idea of what I was doing. But what I had was grit. What I had was all those years of having the shit kicked out of me, coming to an American school, being biased for being from Iran, being pushed around as a kid, and realizing that built my character. It built my ability to stick to something. It built my ability to be knocked down as many times as it takes and then to get up and to succeed. It's, I oftentimes talk about the culture of the Vikings. I'm a huge fan of Viking lore and Norse culture and history. And when you look at those guys, they would go on these ships, these tiny little man-made ships. I mean, not massive things by today's standards at all. They would cross great seas, risk great danger and life to do something impossible, to take over what was one of the most quote unquote civilized civilizations ever. And they fucking won. For hundreds of years, the Vikings ruled England. And they didn't do it by fucking being like, man, I don't know. That's impossible. I'm going to have to get in the fucking boat. And what am I going to drink? And what am I going to eat? No one's done it. We don't have navigation. So they were like fucking swords drawn. We're going out there and we're fucking going to win because we're fucking Vikings. And that's what we do. And it's that same spirit that when somebody has that, back up, because that person is going to be the most dangerous person you will meet today. And that's what happened. And for me, I picked up the phone, I picked up books, I started calling authors, and they'd be like, you're bothering me, kid, stop calling. I'd be like, okay, great. Knock, knock. Tomorrow I'd show up at their door. I wouldn't take no for an answer. I'd go to herbal stores in Chinatown. I'd be like, I need some herbs. They'd be like, okay, it's $500. I'd be like, great, I'll pay you next week. They'd be like, we don't do that here. I'd be like, nah, you do. And I'd show up, or they tell me to fuck off. I'd go to the guy next door and I'd do the same thing. I wouldn't take no for an answer. There was zero possibility of me not succeeding. And that's what led me to that moment. It led me to that moment again, where I'm staring at this guy that eats kids like me for a living, looking up to this guy, sweat dripping from my brow, but my feet glued to the ground, not moving, not 1 inch. Because I wasn't going to take no for an answer. It's that same spirit. And you can build that. I teach it to all my students who are part of my Amazon Mastery course. But you can learn that. You can learn that through mentors. You can learn that through mastermind groups. You can learn it through books. You can learn it through not working in a vacuum and having people around you that endorse you and encourage you and bring out the greatness of who you are.
I love it. I love it. You get another standing ovation. And, as I would say, although my wife is getting a little tired of the joke, I would stand for you, but I'm not wearing any pants right now. So I will spare you the trauma. So one of the things that I like to do in the show is it is my gift as well to my, to my fellow authors, is tell them the name of their second book or their next book. And yours is a very simple one. The name of your next book, look for it on, maybe you've heard of the site Amazon, but it's definitely going to be called Because We're Fucking Vikings. That's the name of your next book. It writes itself, doesn't it? It really writes itself. But I love that. And that's the phrase. That's the key phrase. This is because this is who we are. We don't know how to do anything differently because this is who we are. And if you are a hero, if you are a winner, if you are hungry, if you're passionate, you just go and you fucking do it. And this is the time of the show where I basically try and stump you by coming up with a quote that I believe is connected to you in some way, shape, or form. And then I try and find the perfect time of the show to bring it on. So do you know which wise man or woman said this? While you are sleeping, your enemies are planning your demise. Do you know who said that? You'll win an NFT if you know that.
Sounds really wise. I mean, the guy who wrote that should really win some kind of award. I'm going to go with me. I'm going to go with me for 100.
And the answer is?
Yes!
So I had another quote for you. But then when I saw this quote, I was like, well, let's make this the quote of the episode. While you are sleeping, your enemies are planning your demise. So what does this mean to you?
Everyone's too fucking fragile. Everybody has thin skin. Everybody's thinking, man, maybe I won't get first place. I'll win a consolation prize. I'll win second place. I can just take it easy. Bullshit. Whatever you're thinking right now, Google it. There's 50,000 people thinking it. Whatever you want to do, there's a million people out there better than you who could do it. And if you close your eyes in the time it takes you to blink, there's 50 other guys who were just waiting for that opportunity to take over your share of the market. It happens every day on every platform. And the way that you get around that is by knowing who you are, being self-reflective, but always being one step ahead. And you can learn that from great teachers, great mentors. But I oftentimes tell people, seek somebody out who is where you want to be in life and have them show you how they got to where they are. And if you do that, you can always be one step ahead, I should say, of the competition.
And I'll add one thing to that as well, which is it's funny because I literally had a conversation about that earlier today. If you go to someone who is where you want to be and you ask them for help, chances are they'll want to help you, because it's an interesting connection, because you're coming to them. You're not in any way, shape, or form looking to replace them, but everybody wants to be able to help in that way because it's somewhat connected back to your own ego. So there's something magical about that. Advice is so spot on. Spot on. It's actually, and I'll say why I'm going to take that advice too, in looking towards how do I get to the next level. That's how personal it is to me. That's how spot on it is to me.
Yeah. Or they'll tell you to fuck off. Either way, you still win.
Or they'll tell me to fuck off. It's one of the two, right? And I can live with either. What I can't live with is as they say, and I know Manif is watching, and Manif is, I'm seeing the stuff he did. No plan Bs for me. I either make it or I was like, wait, did he type that wrong? No, he didn't. I either make it or I make it. These are the options. And, he added one thing as well, that he used to escape home at 12. And one claimed, I think, climbed down the water pipe. We have those externally in Yemen. So Iran and Yemen.
Yeah.
And now you both are here kind of kicking ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the question again? No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know. I want to, at this point, I'm having so much fun with you, and you, for whatever reason, you've made me feel like this is the show that I always wanted to create. And it's clearly your energy and your approach. It's just awesome. You came here, you brought your A game, and you just kicked ass, and I love it. As someone else who's kicking ass is our correspondent on Wednesday, Brian Fanzo, Social Fans, and he sent in this correspondent vignette all the way from Times Square, where he's going gaga over NFTs. So let's hear what Fanzo had to say.
What's up, friends? Brian Fanzo here, Social Fans, and I'm at an event this week, and so I want to just kind of like talk about where we're moving in the future. And I know many probably have heard about the blockchain or crypto, or maybe we're even hearing about NFTs. And times are definitely changing. We are living in a space and a time where we are shifting control and power from the brands and from these centralized entities like platforms, and moving that power to the creator and the individual. And I've actually never seen it more relevant than it is right here as I am standing in Times Square, and it is NFT NYC, which is the biggest NFT event here in 2021. And all of these billboards behind me, all of those billboards have had NFTs on them, have had the whole kind of shifting the narrative around this whole concept of NFTs. And for me, the clarify, like the way that I've been really kind of thinking about, like, how do we talk about this thing that has, like, maybe it's Martians, like meta fans, like it's right there on the billboard. The real value, the real thing for us to realize and to recognize is it's about this idea of frictionless exchange of value that is not only transparently shared, but it's trackable on the blockchain through the ledger. And to me, that alone, this idea of shift of how we track value, how we can exchange value, and how we can eliminate the friction is why NFTs and blockchain are transforming the way we think of business, the way we think about the way that we move forward. And I will tell you, I was just in a couple sessions just now, and I think one of the most important things is all of the creative energy from creators that are artists to musicians that are TV hosts are going to be tilted towards NFTs and leveraging cryptocurrency. And therefore, for every brand, every leader, we have to really identify what does this mean for us. And the beauty of it is, if you understand that the future of business is community, all of this will be seamlessly integrated because it is truly a community first mindset. And I believe this is going to be the biggest disruption and one of the coolest times to actually be in this space and also really transform what's going on. So from New York City, from Times Square, my name is Brian Fanzo, Social Fans. I wish you a great day, and I'll see you in the NFT world. Cheers.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say his coin is the ADHD coin, and you can also get that on the rally.io network. I love that. Manif says love it. And, Brian is actually Fanzo is actually going to be moving to Tuesday because he's just going to, he's so into this whole metaverse and crypto and world that I just said to him today, you've just got to report on this every single week. And in the short term, he's going to be doing, Wellness Wednesdays, focusing on mental health, ADHD, Superpowered, Misfit Mafia. So thank you, Fanzo. Shaheen, any thoughts on what Fanzo had to say, including what the fuck is an NFT?
I think the world is changing very rapidly. COVID has shown us that nothing stays consistent for long. And the interesting part about what we're seeing now with blockchain, with NFTs, is that once again, it's industries that are being disrupted and power is coming back to the hands of the individual, the people, the little guy. That's one of the reasons why we do Amazon, because people look at a guy like Jeff Bezos, for example, and they think, fuck, man, look at this guy. He's a gajillionaire and he's got more money than I'll ever get. And they have that attitude. But what they don't see is that there are more millionaires and billionaires made from the efforts of that man than anyone else in the last 20 years. Bezos is going to be creating more and more and more millionaires and billionaires just in the next 10 years than I think we've seen from any other emerging industry, because he's opened up his platform to allow third-party sellers to sell on there. So me, you, Uncle Joe, everybody who we know can go on to Amazon, start a seller account, start discovering products, and to start selling them. And these are disruptors. These are disruptive industries, things that will be disrupting the way that we do business, just like NFTs and crypto are. So I think that it's all part of the same story, where before with consumer products goods, which is the area that I'm proficient in, you had these big players. You want to buy soap, you got to buy it from that big company. You want to buy a cola, you got to buy it from one of the big two. That's it. No other game in town. And then Amazon came along and they said, hey, you know what? We're going to give everybody a fair shot. Now you got millions of soaps, millions of sodas, millions of all these kinds of products being sold on there. And not only that, these big companies, these big corporations are having trouble competing because the language of disruption marketing, is Seth Godin, the great marketing expert, used to say, branding marketing expert, author of Purple Cow and a bunch of other stuff. Check out his books. He's great. Would say, the era of disruption marketing is over. The era of these mega companies spending billions of dollars on TV ads and radio ads to disrupt what you're doing, to grab your attention, to get you to buy that one shitty thing that they're selling, that's over. Nobody fucking trusts them. Like you said in your intro, nobody fucking trusts the corporations anymore. Nobody trusts the government anymore. So where the power is gravitating back to is the individual. And we're going to see it. We're going to see it in businesses like Amazon, in NFTs, and cryptocurrencies. All these are things that are fascinating to look at, but all become part of a bigger plan for foundational wealth, which is, guys, everybody has to get into cash flow positive real estate. Ton of wealth is created through cash flow positive real estate. One of the best ways to invest your money. Compounding interest. Get involved in crypto, NFTs, stocks, options, futures, anything where you can invest that money and have that interest compound. You should have a career or a job, something that keeps baby Joseph Jaffe in diapers. You got to have something that keeps your family fed so you don't have to stress. Eventually we'll get you out of that so you don't have to sell your hours. And the fourth leg of the table, the pillar of our foundation, is an e-commerce business. There is no reason why now, at this particular point in history, that you have not started an e-commerce business. And I'm talking to everybody who's watching this. It should be part of your investment portfolio. It doesn't take that much time. It doesn't take that much money. It doesn't take that much energy. The risk is very low stakes, and the reward and potential is very high. And we are just at the ground floor, just like we are with crypto and with NFTs.
And quick question, what is an e-commerce business for, let's say, an author or a speaker or a talk show host? Is it a book? Is it something like one of my books? Is it merch, or is it something else?
That depends on who you are. Obviously, if you're a doctor and you've written a book on, I don't know, leg cramps, for example, then it would behoove you to look into the market of leg cramp products. Maybe there's a supplement for that, and you can be the authority figure for that and sell it on Amazon and tell that story. We teach in my course, in my FBA seller course, we teach people, don't go inventing a product and then going out there trying to find a market for it. What you want to do is you want to create a product after you have found the market. So distribution first always. Find a market, find what it needs, low-hanging fruit, find the vulnerabilities in that market, and then go out there and exploit that market. That's what we teach.
Amazing. Amazing. We are almost at the top of the hour, but I wanted to make sure that I touched on something that I noticed about you, which is in the 1990s, you told us that amazing story of herbal ecstasy, and what a story that is. In the 2000s, and we didn't discuss it, you did a lot with in the whole field of vaping. In the 2010s, and it says, it's interesting because I was reading through your press sheet. It says 2010s, Amazon and e-commerce expert, and speaks about what you've been doing now. And then I thought to myself, wait a second, this man reinvents himself every 10 years. He completely reinvents himself, or more importantly, is he moves to something, he is truly skating to where the puck is going to be. So I don't know if you've seen that or that's been reflected in you, or whether that's kind of front and center, number one. And number two, what is it going to say about Shaahin Cheyene under 2020s? Because it's 10 years now.
Yeah. So I think, are you asking me what's next?
I'm not asking what's the next big thing. I'm just asking what you're going to do next.
What I'm going to do next. Well, right now, there's a huge push for Amazon companies and Amazon products, and we're in the process of selling one of our big companies. So what's next now is getting this company sold. There's been over, I think, $6 billion pumped in from Wall Street into these aggregators that are coming in now and buying up Amazon companies. There's never been a better time to be in the Amazon companies, products business. And we're just getting geared up now to sell some of these companies. So what's in the future for us is moving companies, selling companies. And then also my students are getting ready to do that too. So a lot of the people who are in my course now are getting to the point where we can start looking at building their companies for a sale, for an exit, which is the dream of any entrepreneur that starts a company.
I hear vertical integration. I hear venture capitalist, angel investor. It makes complete sense to me. You make sense to me. Manif applauds you, as do I. For those of you that want to find out more about guest number 297, and without question, the best guest yet in this little adventure of mine, you can find out more about him and follow him and connect with him, not only on Twitter and Instagram and Metabook or Face Meta or whatever the hell they call it, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to his channel on YouTube. Buy Billion How I Became King of the Thrill Pill Cult. Find out about his Amazon FBA course. And not only can you do that, but of course, very kindly, if you email him, darkzess@gmail.com, with not famous in the subject line, you're going to get access to one of these courses for free. Most importantly, look out for his new book, Because We're Fucking Vikings, available wherever fine books are sold. Cheyenne, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I have one more surprise for you, which is, and this is not cameo, and I resent any allegations, but I flew Chuck Norris into my studio to tell the world what he thinks of you. And this is what he had to say.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
I will be back tomorrow with Bruce Turkel. Take care, everyone. Thank you again, Shaheen. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.